Hey Rebecca. Okay, so we're
Hi.
going to we're going to start again from chapter 91, which are the laws which deal with how we deal with illnesses, basically connected to medicines that are in a situation of not a severe illness. So let's bring it up, and before we're going to start with the first law again, and then we're going to go to some side information to get back to to get background to the law. Okay, so we learned chapter 91 is basically dealing with, hold on a second, dealing with laws concerning one who feels slightly ill. So the emphasis is on slightly, and a sick person whose condition is not critical. So slightly ill and not critical. Obviously, critical would be different. So the question is, just to give a foundation, the question is, what's the issues with medicine in general? And those who learn Rambam, now we'll learn Rambam Yomi is also dealing with the laws of Shabbos. So today's Rambam, meaning Wednesday's Rambam, was all about the laws. Also, we continued about what is healing, what healing is allowed and not allowed on Shabbos, and why is healing not allowed on Shabbos. So let's just to start with I'm not sure if we're going to get back to the Shulchan Aruch today, but let's just learn redo this law here. If a person, Mechesh Ba'alma would be, is slightly ill, he translates. V'hum is chazik v'hoilech k'moi bari, and he could get around like a well person, means you're not feeling great, but you're not bedridden. Is asr lasis leishum refuah. Okay, you have to remember something else. And this is where the conversation really starts. Once upon a time, there was no such thing as a pharmacy, where a person went in and got pills or capsules or liquids ready-made, right? You go, even the powders that you get today, the pharmacist asks, you want me to prepare it for you, right? So that's what a pharmacy is. That's what we're paying the pharmacist to do. Once upon a time, people maybe there was pharmacists that gave refuahs, that gave ideas, but the actual making of the medicines was done at home, and a person would basically you would chop up the herbs and whatever it is you put in the medicines, and that's what's forbidden on Shabbos. That's the problem. So the question is, how is that applicable today when a person's buying Tylenol? You're buying things that's ready made. So the short answer is that we don't change what the rabbis forbid. This is forbidden. It's brought down in the Talmud. You're not to make refuahs is also because the actual making of the medicines is forbidden on Shabbos. And here we're talking about a chayla shein by sakana, a person who's not severely ill. So there's no concern that if we don't treat this person, he or she, so then they're going to be more than uncomfortable. Now, based on this, all refuah, anything that's just about healing, is forbidden on Shabbos. And therefore, we have questions about medicines that a person takes continuously. Therefore, we have a question about vitamins. Therefore, we have a question about all kind of applications that are healing related. Because based on the idea of the concern of making medicines itself is forbidden on Shabbos, it creates this entire platform of all types of things that are forbidden on Shabbos. Now, because of that, so therefore the rabbis extended it. Even if you're not going to be doing anything, you're not going to be making a malacha, you're not going to be performing a malacha. If when you heal this person, you're not going to be doing a something that's forbidden on Shabbos. Like we said, even to just use to applying oils, whether you're putting it on yourself or others are putting it on you. I feel like any Yehudi, even for a Gentile, it is forbidden to do on Shabbos. So again, we're going to do the footnotes, and then I want to go to some background information about about um, about the laws of medicine and healing. So number one is like this. The sages prohibited taking cures less when come to grind medicines. So this is the foundation. The foundation is a person may come to grind the medicines. Grinding the medicines is forbidden on Shabbos. Grinding is one of the 39 major malachas, prohibitions, labors that are prohibited on Shabbos. This prohibition applies only to things done exclusively by and for the sick. Thus, walking for health reasons would be permitted since it's also done by persons who are well. What do we see from this footnote? that because of this, because of the concern that a person may grind medicines, we forbid anything that's exclusively done for the sick. And again, we're talking about a person like the heading of this law who's slightly ill, whose condition is not critical. Critical is obviously another conversation, and incritical could lead to critical. You don't have to be critical now, but if you need the medicines to make sure you don't become critical, we're going to get to all that in a second. So thus walking, which is if people can walk and they're healthy, they walk. It's not something that's exclusively done for someone who's ill, therefore it's allowed. Number two, he says, is talking about the oil. If this is done only by and for the sick, meaning if applying oil is something that's applied only for people that are sick, so then it's something that's forbidden to do on Shabbos. Number three is, even a non-Jew can apply the oil, obviously, to himself. We're not talking about the non-Jew applying oil to the Jew. So a non-Jew may be asked to do even a melacha da'iraisa for one who is ill enough to be confined to a bed. So here he says, again, this is going out of the subject of the halacha, that when it comes time, when we're talking about a person who is confined to a bed, even though not necessarily confined to a bed means critical, the Rambam Mishnah Berurah 3:26-46, for one who is less ill, some permit asking a non-Jew to do a melacha d'Rabbanan, rabbinic. So it says Shulchan Aruch, Rav, others prohibit this as well. Okay. Before we continue this chapter, I want to do some background. So we have over here is the Chabad online. We're going to quote also from Rabbi Avad Yosef, and we're going to enjoy, hopefully correctly, my chart that I put together with the help of ChatGPT. Okay, concerning whether, what's the heading over here? Medication on Shabbos. Is it permissible to take medication on Shabbos? It's not so simple. There's a lot of questions, basically. There's a lot of different types of medications that we take regularly. And the question is, are we allowed to take them on Shabbos? There's a lot of situations. Again, like I said, I think we spoke about this last week. I'm not sure if I spoke about it in this class or in another class about allergies. The allergies was once considered, a big deal, but now allergies is considered something that's important. The questions of any of these medicines, are you allowed to take allergy medicine? Are you allowed to take for migraines? What does it mean? A small headache, a strong headache, etc. So we're going to address all that. He says like this: concerning whether you're allowed to take medication on Shabbos for your own specific situation, consult an Orthodox rabbi. So he starts off saying don't just judge from the information we have now. If you have a question specifically for your condition, run it by your local rabbi. But based on the basic information, he continues, the sages prohibit taking medication on Shabbos except in specific situations out of concern that one may grind herbs. Okay, that's what we said in the footnote. To make a remedy which would be a transgression of the Torah prohibition of grinding, which is tochen. So tochen is forbidden on Shabbos. It's one of the 39 malachas on Shabbos. Nowadays, most people don't construct their own remedies, right? The person just goes to the store, to the pharmacy. Nevertheless, the consensus of contemporary poskim, meaning the local posik is a person who sets the law, right? Halachic authorities, is that we cannot undo a rabbinic prohibition even if the reason is no longer applicable. Meaning to say, a person says, the whole concern of medicine is, I may grind it, I'm not grinding anything. I go to the store, I buy Tylenol, I buy whatever it is, and I pop it in, I eat it, I swallow it. What's the prohibition? Nevertheless, once the rabbis prohibited it, we don't uproot a prohibition, especially if some, still do compound homemade remedies, because it's not unheard of. And also, of course, we have a lot of times people will grind actually the medication you buy in the pharmacy, right? If you're trying to crush it or something like that, for children to take or to liquefy it, etc. If it is self-understood that whenever there is even slightly possibility of a life-threatening situation, which is called pekuach nefesh, it is permissible to transgress malachas as needed. So we know there's a famous limud, a famous idea that says v'chai b'hem, that you're supposed to live with Torah mitzvahs, and it also says it's brought down that transgress one Shabbos so you can keep many Shabbosim. If a person says, "Well, I can't violate the Shabbos," but it's pekuach nefesh, your life depends on it. What's going to happen? You're going to die, God forbid. So what's the point? If you would have transgressed one Shabbos and took care of the situation, then you could live hopefully many, many years and keep many Shabbosim. So it's better to transgress one Shabbos if your life depends on it. So and if there's even a suffix, a doubt of Pekuach Nefesh, you don't have to sit there and think, am I really about to die, or is this really dangerous? If there's even a concern that we're dealing with a life-threatening situation, don't ask later. Transgress, do what you have to do for Shabbos. Of course, if it's ability to ask is something differently, if you could ask before Shabbos, obviously it's differently. But again, in the suffix of Pekuach Nefesh, we don't even for suffix, even if it's a doubt of a life-threatening situation or could lead to a life-threatening situation. Like if you're keeping if a virus or an infection continues, etc. It is permissible to transgress melachas as needed. In addition, one who takes medication daily. Okay, here's the next question. A person who takes daily medications, which preempts a life-threatening situation, right? So a lot of people taking medicines to keep away a life-threatening situation may continue to take it on Shabbos, even if skipping one dose will not result in a life-threatening situation. A person may say, "What's the big deal? One day I miss, it's not going to change anything." That's not how we work. If it's connected to some sort of life-threatening situation, again, before the Shabbos, we're not talking about in an emergency situation. When you have time to plan, it's always okay to ask your rabbi in this specific situation. But this is the rule of thumb. Additionally, one may take medication on Shabbos to remove an infection, but only if not treating the infection, it could lead to a life-threatening situation, right? So that's again, there's certain things that are preventative, that if you leave them be, then right now it's not life-threatening, but the infection could lead to a life-threatening situation. It's of course, like for instance, strep or anything like that. However, in the absence of any danger at all, I'm going to add the word at all, there are three general categories. It means if a person's taking medicine for just three, like you have sometimes just a light headache. Can you take, it's not a migraine, because we're going to see migraine is different, but if you have just a light headache, can you pop a Tylenol? So as we have, it's called michush kal, which is how we started the law over here. Michush ba'alma, he calls it, just a slightly ill. So michush kal, which is a mild malady, such as a minor cold or cough. In such a case, a person may not transgress any prohibitions. So if it's just a minor cold and cough, again, minor cold and cough is also depending on the person involved, right? There's certain people that a minor cough or cold could lead into a life-threatening situation. Again, you have to be where there's a famous line. I forget who said it. There was a rabbi, I think, who said it. It's not that we're lenient on Shabbos. We're machmer. We're stringent on pekuach nefesh. That if there's even a suffix pekuach nefesh, even if there's a doubt that this could lead to a life-threatening situation, so it's not that we're lenient with Shabbos, we're strict with life-threatening situations, meaning strict to make sure the person's kept well and doesn't get into a situation of a life-threatening situation. So again, so if a minor cold or cough could be, for some people could lead to a life-threatening situation, obviously it's a different situation. Tsar Gadol, you have things that are not at all dangerous, just very painful. One who is in significant pain, but is not weak or incapacitated, such a person may transgress a rabbinic prohibition, but must do so in an unconventional manner, such as mixing the medicine with one's food, as long as the mixture was prepared before Shabbos. So here you're taking the medicine, but you're mixing it into food. It's not the conventional way of taking the medicine. But you're in pain, but it's not life-threatening. He quotes over here, Kitzur Shulchan in 135.5 writes that only a rabbinic prohibition is permitted. It must, however, be noted that the wording of the Shulchan Aruch Harav, meaning the Alter Rebbe, seems to imply that even a biblical prohibition will be permitted if the individual is in great pain and provided it is done with a shinoi, means done differently, like taking the medicine not by pill, but mixing it in food. However, further investigation is required to ascertain whether the word gemura was omitted here. Okay, I'm not sure what he's referring to, but it's a lashon of Rav. So again, you have to ask question if this is if it means to say if you're allowed to transgress even a biblical prohibition. However, in the category of tsar gadol, one may not take medication or undergo treatment, except external treatment applied by a non-Jew. This percolates Tylenol for manageable pain, powder for a rash, Tums for heartburn, or sucking lozenges for sore throat, seeming that you shouldn't take them. Some hold that one who is is on a schedule of medication for such ailment may continue taking doses on Shabbos. Okay, so basically, to take a throat lozenge or to take Tums just because you're feeling heartburn. Again, heartburn could sometimes lead to something, but in the situation that's just you're feeling uncomfortable, you're in pain. So he says this is not allowed on Shabbos. Or Tylenol for manageable pain is not allowed on Shabbos. But if you're already in a program of pain medication, then to continue taking it seems like you're allowed to. Responsive oral at in volume 2, 336.4. Shemirat Shabbos Kehilchatah. Hold on, Rebecca. Chapter 34, footnote stated that this only applies in a case where the prescription is for a full week. Okay, and if you have a prescription for a week, then you can continue taking it on Shabbos. But if it's, I guess he means to say if it's just a 2-3 day and it's not life-threatening, you shouldn't take it. Yes, Rebecca.
But I mean, I'm right now. I opened a book of like halacha relating to like medicine on Shabbos. I don't see it, but I remember learning that if you wouldn't take the medication, it wouldn't be like dangerous, but you'd have to spend the day in bed. Then you would be allowed to take it.
Okay, so that there's a question of tsar, and there's a question of being in a situation of chayla she'ein by sakana. Like could be people are lenient on what's called chayla she'ein by sakana, which is the next category, which is it's not life threatening, but you're sick. There's a difference between a sore throat that your throat is sore and you want to take a lozenge for it to relieve it. Again, we're gonna in halacha here we're gonna learn about things you could do that are not medicine related that kind of help with that, like swallowing certain things that if by swallowing it helps your throat, it helps your throat. Here we're talking about straight up medication or straight up treatment, like lozenges is not a. It's not like you're drinking. It gives an example. Drinking, they would drink like oils or vinegars or stuff like that. That just by drinking it, it kind of the secondary effect was it helped your throat. But here we're talking about straight up taking a lozenge for your throat. He's saying straight up taking a lozenge. You don't have a strep. You just have a sore throat. It's not putting you in bed. It's just uncomfortable. It's painful. So that, and then just taking it today. It's not like you're on a program. Or Tums. Tums is a great example. It's not permitted on Shabbos. Now, if you're going to be bedridden because of your stomach ache or because you're uncomfortable, it's something else. That's the next category.
That's considered cholesh she'ein bo sakana.
I mean, these things are kind of cloudy situations. What's considered cholesh
Like
yesh not,
like
but
if somebody would have to be in bed because of the pain and discomfort, that's
yeah,
considered cholesh she'ein bo sakana.
we're going to see that, for instance, what's a migraine? I mean, a migraine is something like that, where I know my wife has people that we know have migraines that you could it really decapitate. I mean, rather puts you out of commission. Is it dangerous? Is it severe enough for it to be dangerous? Not usually, but we see that we're going to see in the charts we're going to see later poskim a little bit more makel. For treatment for migraines is allowed. That's considered something that's a chayil she'ein by sakan.
Also, I was having like a serious problem with allergies in the summer, like not like a coughing, sneezing kind, but a kind with like rashes and hives and like more serious symptoms. And the allergist was from, and he told me that like he said that like the rabbi that we both hold by says that if you started the treatment before Shabbos, you're allowed to continue the treatment over Shabbos.
That's what you're saying over there. That's what we finished off in footnote number 11. Some people say it has to be 7 days, but the others who say that as long as you're on a program, it's different than it's just that you had too much strength and you want to have the Tums, you know what I mean? Or if
Yeah, but so he said you need to start it on Shabbos. I mean, you need to
before
start it
Shabbos.
before Shabbos. Don't
Yeah.
start it on
Yeah.
Shabbos.
So that's what we said at the end of point number 2. Yes,
Okay.
Bob, you're
I
on
was
mute.
just going to ask, so if it's something like a natural remedy, like if you had a sore throat and you gargled with like salt water, or you gargled with like baking soda for your throat, would you loud? Sorry.
So we're going to see that that's part of the issue. Anything that the rule is basically anything that's done only for things of briut, of health, and not done just like for instance, they gave an example of walking, right? Walking is done by people. You don't have to be sick to walk. People walk. That's part of so therefore the walking is not considered you doing something for sick. But and we're going to learn in the Kitzur. Now things like that, like taking oils or salt waters, or things that are exclusively done as a treatment, is complicated. If it's also done by people, power drinks, I mean, you can't make them. Maybe you can't buy them on Shabbos, but if you go to the fruit shop, or in Israel, it's very popular today. All these power drinks and Be Fresh and all these things. So you have and having it vitamins and all. The question is, people are not just taking them because they're sick. People are taking them. People take them on a regular day, so it's different. But if you're doing something that only is done when you have a sore throat, it's complicated. All right, let's see the third category. Again, these are all we're not talking about pikuach nefesh, life-threatening situations. We're talking about. So here we have cholesh ein b'sakan. Cholesh ein b'sakan is number 3, which means you're sick, but you're not endangered. One who is in severe pain and cannot function, in other words, migraine, headache, etc., may do a melacha in an unusual manner, ask a non-Jew to perform a melacha in a normal manner, and take medication. So in the case of cholesh ein b'sakana, and they include in that a migraine headache, and I believe severe allergies is also included in that. So then you could take medications, and you could even do certain treatments, whatever it would be, either done through shinoi or done by a non-Jew in a regular way. Medications may be taken as soon as the pain begins, even if it's bearable at the time. And you don't have to wait for the migraine to really kick in for you to take the medicine, or for an attack of allergies. I'm going to assume allergies is it depends on the situation. I mean, your doctor said that you should start taking it before in a program, but if there's something that's severe, sometimes you have an allergic reaction to something that you've eaten. That I would call into cholesh. I mean, we've had situations with our kids, something they've eaten, we don't even know what they had, and that caused an allergic reaction. We'll right away give them whatever it's called, the medicine
Benadryl,
etc. Yeah. Some poskim write that if the medication is thoroughly mixed before Shabbos into food that is not normally taken with medication, one may eat that food on Shabbos. This is because he has actively distinguished it from normal medication, he or she, and therefore won't think to prepare the medication on Shabbos, because this is a gzeira. The whole reason we're not allowed to take medication on Shabbos is because we're concerned a person is going to prepare medication on Shabbos. But in this case, where it's so not regular before Shabbos to mix it into foods, etc., this is the optimal solution for one who may experience heartburn or headaches on Shabbos, which means to prepare foods that are mixed with medicines to take on Shabbos. Okay. This article is generously provided by Chabad Merkaz Anash. Okay, let's see number 14, and then I want to see what Rabbi Avad Yosef says. Rabbi Avad Yosef says. We'll go to some charts, and then maybe we'll have time to go back to the Shulchan Aruch. Based on the Talmud Shabbos 108b, Rashi beginning V'nosan and in Shulchan Aruch Rav Orach Chaim 328-27, see Aruch Shabbos chapter 1, and then the footnote 188, where he explains that this was the ruling of Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, that basically this idea that you could take this for headaches and heartburn, medicines that are put in food, there's a long list of references to assume that this is okay, based on, again, the ruling of Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, which was one of the halachic authorities, passed away, I believe, in the 90s or the 80s. He says, however, Igros Moshe, meaning Harav Moshe Feinstein, takes a stringent view on this matter about preparing foods for headaches or heartburn, and to take it through medicine that's prepared food or liquid or something. Okay. This is the short version to give us an idea in Chabad.org. I want to see Rav Avad Yosef, who's also one of the poskim of our generation. Okay, I thought this is this was not what we were looking for. This is a question. I mean, it's a question that we all ask. I have gout and I take medication for gout and I take it every day. So before Shabbos, I make sure to prepare the medicine before. So here we have, let's see over here. Taking vitamins and non-medication pills on Shabbos. This is the question that you asked last week, Rebecca, about medications. We have explained in the previous halacha that our sages prohibit one who is not truly ill, which is based on what we learned before, to take medicine on Shabbos only if one feels ill throughout his body or must lie down in bed. Okay, this is what you've asked about. If you're bedridden, may one take medication to heal oneself, which is chol Hashem sakana. We have discussed several details regarding this law. I try to find what he means previous halacha. Previous halacha takes me to this law, which is the law of opening up medicines, which is different. Okay. Conception pills like this. Let us now discuss the law regarding women who is taking pills for several days in order to conceive. It seems that there is room for leniency, since we have already written that our sages never enacted their edict in a place of great illness, and the inability to become pregnant is certainly worse than an illness which causes one to lie in bed. So, therefore, according to Harav Avad Yosef, taking conception pills to help with pregnancy is even more severe than a choila she'ein bei sakana, a person who's bedridden but not in danger. Hagon Harav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach again, therefore rules that there is room for leniency regarding taking such pills on Shabbos for medical purpose. Some question this lenient ruling, for we find that our sages permitted taking medicine on Shabbos when there is a situation of illness before us, such as when an individual is lying in bed as a result of illness. However, in our situation of taking conception pills, where the woman is not actually ill, there's no room for leniency. Nevertheless, this is incorrect. This is incorrect. Hold on, Rebecca. For regarding any major illness, we are lenient to allow taking medication, even if the individual is not so ill yet and will merely become that ill by abstaining from taking the medication. The same therefore applies to a woman who is having trouble conceiving. For this situation is certainly worse than a great illness. Yes, Rebecca.
I just wanted to say that I've been to workshops before that deal with fertility and halacha, and there's a posek here, like an Orthodox, very learned Talmud Chacham, a posek who specializes in that area, and I've heard him say that women who are in the middle of fertility treatment should do what he said they should do whatever they need to do in order to continue with their treatments, like that they should do whatever they need to do over Shabbos in order to continue their treatment and not to jeopardize their protocol or their treatments at all.
So I'm just reading from we have from here from Ravad Yosef. I don't know what he means anything. So I don't want to just generalize, but here he says clearly about taking the pills that it's allowed. He says it's the clear psak of Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach that's allowed.
But I think in the workshop I went to, they were talking about injections.
Yeah.
They were talking about like walking across the park to like go to a nurse for different things.
Okay, I mean, I'm not familiar that much with the halachas of this situation. What I'm quoting over here is at least in the situation of the pills. He basically the gist of the ruling that he's quoting from Harav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach is that a woman who cannot conceive and is in treatment is more severe than a chola she'ein bei sakana, than a person who's bedridden, not in danger, but bedridden, like let's say a migraine or etc. or anything else that's considered chola she'ein bei sakana. That a woman who's trying to conceive is more in a more severe situation. Therefore, there's more room for leniency in her situation, and it very well could be that Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach would include in that injections, etc. I'm just not familiar with that, so I'm not going to say anything. Harav Agon Moshe Stern, the Debrecina Rav, writes, another reason for leniency, which is our sages prohibit only an ill individual to take medication. However, we have not heard that our sages prohibit a healthy individual to take medication. And so here he says that the Debrecina says he flips it around. The whole reason you're not allowed to take medicine is if it's only for brios. But here we're talking about a healthy person who's taking medication. So it's like it's not a problem. It's like basically a treatment for a healthy person. So he has a totally different view, 180 really, of what Rab Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says. On the contrary, we have already explained the reason behind the edict was the concern that one will transgress Torah prohibitions while trying to heal an ill family member. However, when the individual is not ill and there's no panic, so to say, there's no such concern. Thus, in our situation, where the woman is not ill at all, she just wants that, not just what we're talking about here is being the ability to conceive. Our sages never established their edict in this case, and the woman may take pills in order to help her become pregnant. And this is the psak seemingly of Rav Avodia Yosef. So either way, either the Bertziner, the Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says that a woman who's trying to conceive is even more than a chola sheyesh b'sakana. The Bertziner says, what are you talking about? She's not sick. So the only problem with taking medicine is about sick. It's not sick. It's the medicine for not the sick, which really goes into the question of vitamins, etc. Counter conception pills. It means if a woman takes birth control, are you allowed to take birth control on Shabbos? Based on the above, it would seem that the same would apply regarding birth control pills. In a situation where a woman has permission from a competent halachic authority to take them, we're not going into the question if you should be taking these pills or not, but I'm talking about a situation where the woman has already been allowed, let's say, throughout the week to take it. Since the woman taking these pills is not in addition to the fact that these pills are not meant to heal, there is no prohibition to take these pills on Shabbos. This is especially true since these pills are usually taken for several days or weeks consecutively, in which case there is even more room for leniency, like Rebecca said about taking medicine on a regular basis, and therefore, as we've already established. So then obviously, we see clearly that according to this halacha in the Rav Yosef, it's also permitted. What about taking vitamins? Regarding taking vitamins on Shabbos, since vitamins are not a medication and are meant even for healthy individuals, same idea like we said before, who wish to better improve their health, there is room to permit taking them on Shabbos. Nevertheless, since taking them is not so imperative, one who acts stringently and abstains from doing so shall be blessed. So he says, Tovei Lav Bracha, a person who doesn't take, who holds off on vitamins on the Shabbos, although there's plenty of reason to allow it to take vitamins, but Tovei Lav Bracha. However, we have said above, according to the letter of the law, there is room for leniency, especially for pregnant and nursing women, for whom this is quite necessary to take the vitamins. The great Rishon Letzion Hagoin Harav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita, which is the son of Harav Avad Yosef, ruled likewise many years ago in a Sefer Yalkut Yosef, Volume 4, when the Chazan Avadia when the Chazan Avadia on the laws of Shabbos was later published, Maharan Zal deals with this matter extensively and rules leniency as we have written. So basically, there's plenty of leniency, especially for people that are taking vitamins that are helping them in other situations like pregnancy or nursing. The summary is a woman may take conception or counter-conception pills on Shabbos. Similarly, it is likewise permissible to take vitamins on Shabbos according to the letter of law. However, one who acts stringently and abstains from taking vitamins on Shabbos will be blessed. Okay, so this is the kind of to give us an understanding of the chapter. I created a chart that I want to go over before we continue with this Kitzur, which is going to cover kind of a lot of questions that we may have. I'm hoping I didn't make too many mistakes. Okay, so we have over here categories of illness. So we're talking about a person who's healthy. Okay, so this is again, no medication. Everyone agrees they shouldn't take medication. That's only talking about, it's hard to say. We said that according to the Bertziner, to take something that if you're totally healthy is not such a problem, really. Mild discomfort is no medication, we said before. Slightly Kehilchatah seems to say there's some leniencies when you're a little sick. So again, this is not 100% accurate. But I wanted to go through some of the things that are accurate. Is allowed to take medication, we said. Obviously, if you're in danger, then of course you're allowed to take medication. Regular ongoing medication, daily required meds, heart, whatever. If stopped causes illness, of course you're allowed to take it. Clearly allowed, Rabbi Farkash says. Preventative meds, we're not so sure, but Rabbi Farkash is more lenient to say that preventative medication is also permitted. Long-term treatment is seemingly allowed according to Rabbi Farkash. Ongoing established is permitted on Shabbos. So that's if you're taking medications regularly, it's even if you're saying that by not missing one day, don't be strict, just continue with the program. Vitamins, again, I'm just going to go through what he quotes from Rabbi Farkash based on what we have from Rabbi Val Yosef, that if it's allowed, if you routinely take vitamins, then you should continue. You're allowed to continue taking it. Although Rabbi Val Yosef says that if you want to be strict, it's okay. Occasional vitamins is try to avoid. Health boosters depends if food like. Okay, that's an important thing. Food boosters depends how it's applied. If you're taking it straight up, if you're putting it in the food itself. Mental health medications, obviously. For depression, anxiety, then it's of course allowed. Mood stabilizers is allowed, and calming pills is usually allowed. Meaning to say, if there's you could take drops or even remedies or straight up medication that helps a person relax. Seemingly that's allowed. Okay. Sleeping pills, melatonin. Can you take melatonin at night? So if you only take occasional sleeping pills, you should avoid. That's kind of. But if you are regular and you depend on the melatonin, I know plenty of people that that nightly will take melatonin or some sort of sleeping pills. Seems to be that it's allowed. Severe insomnia is obviously allowed. Melatonin, which is natural, allowed if it's your routine. Performance pills seems to be for shalom bayis. If you're talking about medical, psychological needs, it may be allowed. If it's talking about shalom bayis, performance pills that would affect your marriage, it could be you should speak to your local rabbi if you're allowed to take them on Shabbos, medicines that would help with performance in relationship. Okay. So we learned about birth control pills. Okay, it's pretty much allowed. If it's non-regular, then you should avoid, because if anybody's not taking it regularly. Fertility pills, we said, is allowed. Fertility enhancement, he says, often allowed. Okay. Food remedies and natural treatments, tea, honey. So we said it's allowed. Recognizable medicine action. So this would be basically what Barbara you asked about taking like salt water, which is something not regular. I think it was something that was I was once suggested in a situation of a cold to apply in the nose as well, like to not snort, but like to kind of put salt water down my nostrils also as a way to help with the cold. That would seemingly be, if depending on the situation, how severe it is, would be something that would not be allowed. Yes, Barbara.
I was just going to say, honey and lemon, that's good for a sore throat. So you could do that.
Yeah, because
it seems
because regular people take honey and lemon.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to be like, I know my mother-in-law drinks honey tea, a honey lemon drink every Friday night. It's not whether she's feeling ill or not. Okay. So I wanted to bring down, there was one final thing over here. Okay, something that's not really connected to what we're saying so far, but is a question. He says like this: creams and skin treatments. So there's situations where you have, let's say, psoriasis or eczema. Seemingly it's allowed. Rashes allowed. Dry hands and feet creams. I have to check on that. Here he says allowed. I'm not sure 100%, depending again on the condition. Cosmetic creams, it says it's outside, it's not permitted. All right, so this covers kind of, again, I'm not 100% sure if everything over here is 100% accurate, because it was with the help of ChatGPT, and I've learned not to rely on it 100% at all. But I think basically it gives us an idea. Yes, Rebecca.
So if someone has a rash or something that needs like a steroid cream or something, it's like a thick kind of cream. You're allowed to put that on Shabbos?
Again, I asked actually my brother-in-law, who's a Rav, to go through this and make sure, find where the mistakes are. He didn't get around to it, but I'm assuming about the idea of eczema and psoriasis, it wouldn't be to rub it, maybe to dab it. Like
But
just,
the instructions from the doctor say to like put a little bit on a Q-tip and then like rub it in.
I understand, but that
You can't do that.
that's another problem. That's not here we're talking about healing is based on a gzera. What's the gzera? The gzera is you may crush the medicine. So it's not that so therefore it created this whole umbrella that anything healing related is not allowed on Shabbos. So even though the thing itself is straight up permissible, nothing wrong with taking a lozenge, right? Why is it different than having a candy? But a lozenge is not a candy. It's something that's taken exclusively for a sore throat. So that's different. But in the same, but rubbing thicker cream is a problem itself of a problem on Shabbos. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure exactly this section of the tropical creams in what way it would be allowed and also what kind of cream it is. How thick, we've learned before about soaps and toothpaste and things like that, that if it's mamish liquefied, then it's not called smearing. But a lot of these creams are more thick than not.
So like if it would drip, then it would be okay?
It seems, I mean, if it's a drip and it's not a problem with smearing, the problem is only that you're applying medicines. He says over here that eczema and psoriasis seemingly be allowed. I have to check again. I mean, Rabbi Farkash has a say for Shabbos Kehilchatah, so I could check. I'm sure he discusses it. These are questions that are obviously all the time. I mean, hand creams, psoriasis, people who suffer from psoriasis, and I have a bit of psoriasis. No, that's not something that you wouldn't ask. I mean, it definitely comes to the Rav's attention, these situations or rashes, etc. But the question is, how thick is thick? For instance, there's that what is that water-based kind of cream that you put on your hand for dry hands and feet? That's like a very thick Vaseline. So
Aquaphor, maybe?
Aquaphor, yeah, that's
That's
like
thick though. That's like
that's
Vaseline.
that's like Vaseline. So that's much thicker than your
Yeah.
regular. Just
Yeah. Right. I have a question about something else relating to refuah, but I can wait till you finish.
no, go ahead, because now we're gonna. Yeah, this is the time to ask.
Okay, it's not exactly about that. It's like, let's say like someone has like back and neck stiffness and issues and pain, and if they don't do a little bit of stretching, not the kind where you go on the floor and you get all sweaty, but just if they don't do like a little bit of stretching where they just like move around their neck and their back, then they're gonna have a lot of pain. Are they allowed to do that?
As a preventative, you saying?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to answer 100%. I want to check on that, but I'm assuming this may go in kind of the like listen to do
Like
your
everyone does it kind of thing?
yeah, it could be again, but it depends. Like to do push-ups and sit-ups and chops is not allowed, and to jog is something you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
Walking is regular. Stretching, the question is if stretching falls under the category of push-ups and sit-ups. Push-ups and sit-ups you don't have to do. I mean, you want to keep a routine. That's nice. Everyone knows you take a day off. You can take your day off on Shabbos. No, you can't go to the gym on Shabbos. But over here, we're talking about just doing stretches. If that would fall under kind of that's something that everyone does every morning, I'm not sure it's allowed. It depends on the situation.
But like it's not strenuous.
I know that I hear what you're saying, but I want to check on that.
Okay. Thanks.
Barbara, you want to ask something?
Yeah, I just so like here again, it's not a prescription medication. I can buy this over the counter, but like I have really dry hands, and this cream I buy, it's very, very thick. And if I don't use it during the cold weather, my hands will crack and really be painful. So is that allowed to be used, even though it's over the counter and it's not a medication?
So again, the problem with this is not going to be the problem of medication. The problem, first of all, again, it's not about over the counter or prescription drug. It's about something that's taken. A lozenge is not is also over the counter. You don't need to. You can go to like for instance, what are they called? Ricola? What is that candy called? Ricola. So is it Ricola lozenge or Ricola candy? It's the machlekes, I think. I'm when I was a student, I was able to pop Ricolas just for a good day. But usually Ricolas is bought for I think for a cold, for a sore throat. But either way the problem is not about prescription or prescription. The problem is if it's something exclusive for refuah. We're going to see the point is if something is only used as a healing, it's a problem. That's why the Debretziner Rav, why does he say a woman's allowed to take fertility drugs on Shabbos? Is because she's not sick. So it's nothing to do with sick. She's not sick. If you want to look at it that way, the Shlomo Zalman Auerbach takes the opposite view that she's almost severely sick. She's more than a chalish by sakana. But here we're talking about the question with the thick cream on your hands is the problem of memarach. You're smearing on Shabbos, which you're not allowed. So it's its own problem on
Can I
Shabbos.
make a comment? Can I
Yeah.
answer? So
Right.
I looked into this, Barbara, I looked into this a while ago because my hands get so dry and they crack like crazy in the winter, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So apparently a few different brands that make moisturizer make a spray. It's like a liquid, it's a spray. So like Aquaphor makes a body spray and you just spray it on, and I was told that that's okay. I think Aveeno might also make one. And it's literally like a liquid. It's not thick, and you can spray it on, and it really works.
Have you been able to find that at like Walmart or
Yeah, if you want, I can send you a picture.
please? Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Okay, there we go. Baruch Hashem. Okay, let's go. Let's try to go further in the halachas. So we're holding law number 2. Kol achalim umashkin she'maichel briim. Says any foods or beverages which are consumed by people who are well. Mutil archam lishtaisin l'rfuah. You could also eat them, drink them, or eat them if you're doing it, if your intentions is for healing. Okay, so this is where it comes to the question of be fresh and all these I don't know if they're really that healing at all in the first place, but you go to these places where they say, if you put a powder, if you put a dose of this powder and this powder and this powder for another $5, then it's going to give you a dosage of X, Y, and Z. But either way, if healthy people take them and your intentions are for a food, then you're allowed to eat them and drink them. Alpha pi shehem kashim lektsas dvarim umuchrachim milsa d'refuah avid. So it says, even if they have some bad side effects, and it is therefore obvious that they're being done for medical reasons. This is part of the question where you have certain things that you take. For instance, ginger, right? Ginger is ginger is not pleasant. It's dvarim kashim. It's sharp. A lot of these drinks, especially, they're not. You don't enjoy them. You're taking them because of their benefits. So here you're saying that alpha bishem kashim, they're bitter or hard to eat for whatever reason. So obviously the only reason you're taking them because you're not enjoying it is because of its effect. So maybe you think it's prohibited on Shabbos, but because also healthy people take them, you're allowed to take it on Shabbos. So I think this would include ginger. I mean, I know that a lot of people take ginger. They'll eat ginger, like for stomach ache or for other things, or just to feel better. So it depends. I'm assuming ginger would fall into something that people take when they're bream. They're not just sick. People just take ginger. I feel the hachi shard nevertheless is permissible, even though it's clear that you're only taking it for its benefits. The kol she'einu ma'achal mashke briim, asur la'achlam v'lishtos l'rfuah. But he says if it's not anything that is not eaten or drunk by well people, and the only people who eat them are people that need the benefits, then it's prohibited. So this gives us a definition. He says you may consume herbal juices or drink raw egg, to help with your voice. Some people like to gargle raw egg. It helps with the chazan, to being a counter. You're not sick. You just want to help with soothe your throat for your voice. So it's not again. So here we see again. I've said many times the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is not a beginner's. It's just a kitzur. You can't confuse the two. It's a short version of the law, but it's not a beginner's for the law. So you could be medayik in his words. So meaning to say over here is that he gives us a definition that something that you're doing for a benefit, but you're not sick. You don't need to have. Means the person who wants to gargle an egg for their voice, but having a not a perfect voice doesn't mean you're sick. That's basically what the Deborah Senior is saying about fertility pills. A woman is taking, she's not sick. She's taking it for a benefit. Yes, of course, you're taking the pill for a benefit, but you're not sick. So the same thing over here. You're taking these srafim mutukim, which is herbal juices, but you're doing it for a reason that just to make your voice more pleasant. So you're not sick, so therefore you're allowed to take it. So it gives us we see clearly here that the Kitzur gives us a definition of things that you're taking. Means if you want to put it down to a nutshell, what he's saying in the law 2 is that when you take something, there's things that you eat and drink because you're enjoying it. So hana, that's why we make a bracha, and that's why we wouldn't make a bracha on things that you don't enjoy. Brachas hana, you have to brachas hanenim, you have to enjoy. But if you're taking something that because you're enjoying the of taking it, is one thing. But if you're taking something for just the effect of it, which would be to help your throat, or to help it's clearly you're taking it, you don't enjoy it, it's bitter, it's sharp, but so you're taking it for the effect. But if also healthy people take it, or if it's nothing to do with an illness, then you're allowed to take it on Shabbos. If you have to make a shahakal and l'chaim, and some people like to sip a scotch or sip some vodka, but if you're taking it just because of the effect, I guess one has to wonder about that as well. Okay. Footnote number 4. Unless you are ill enough to be confined to bed, so he's talking about anything that's eaten anything that is not eaten or drunk by well people is forbidden to be eaten or drunk as a cure, unless you are ill enough to be confined to bed. Then it's a different story. Then you are taking a medicine, but you're in bed, so then you're allowed to take the medicine. Products consumed solely to improve your health are not permitted. Okay, so here he's saying like this: that products that are consumed, this is where it gets into the question of vitamins. It says products that are consumed solely to improve your health are not permitted, says the Mishnah Berurah 328, 120. There is, however, disagreement among contemporary poskim regarding vitamins. Okay, so we discussed the vitamins. So there's that question about vitamins, and so here I'm not sure if the Mishnah Berurah if the Kitzur is disagreeing with the Mishnah Berurah when it comes to gargling eggs, which is it called improving your health? I mean, he seems to consider it has nothing to do with health. It's just about having a pleasant voice, sharpening your abilities to sing. Okay, let's just go one more law. Okay, this is also toothache, right? How severe is a toothache? And again, you have to be careful. Sometimes toothaches actually are severe, and you have to check them. They could be actually. I think I had a niece that had something with her tooth, and the mamish caught it last minute. It could have turned into something extremely dangerous. So you have to know that a toothache can sometimes turn into something dangerous. He's talking about a conventional toothache. This is only a slight toothache. It's not a severe situation. And you don't have mamish severe pain. He says, do not rinse the teeth with vinegar or other liquid for medical purpose, and then to spit it out. You could drink it and swallow it, or if you take it through bread, you dip the bread in, which is obviously you're just taking it for the again, but you're not doing it in a regular way. Also, again, about a sore throat. You can't gargle liquids to try to heal your sore throat. You could swallow things that if you swallow them and it has an effect by way, then that's okay. Okay, let's see the footnotes on this. Hey, Ariel. It says, is obviously you're taking it as a cure if you're just rinsing your mouth out and spitting it out. Now, again, there's a difference between, a person can say, does that mean I can't take mouthwash? Right? Because you're also just rinsing your mouth out and spitting it out. But you're not sick. Mouthwash is something that everyone, unless it's a severe situation, a lot of people use mouthwash on a daily basis, right? Gargling here we go. Gargling with mouthwash is permitted even to relieve a sore throat. Okay, there, that answers the question. And footnote number 8. For severe pain, you may ask a non-Jew to do even a malacha deraisa, or even this is what's quoted, we said before wasn't so clear from the Alter Rebbe. He quotes like this. For severe pain, you may ask a non-Jew to do even a malacha deraisa, even something that is biblical, or even a Jew to do a rabbanon with a shinu if it's not done regularly, doing an act in an atypical fashion. So says the Minchas Shabbos. Okay, I think we're going to stop over here unless anyone has any last questions. All right, I think we've covered this issue. At least we've given ourselves a framework of what these laws are about and what's the issues and what's the concerns. So now we're smarter and we know a little bit more how to understand our own situations as they come up, if they do come up, and therefore we're more knowledgeable when it comes to asking questions to the rabbi. Of course, any situation has to be run by your rabbi, especially if it's a question of health. But at least we know the playing field of what we're talking about. So we're more knowledgeable than we were before to understand the process of what we're looking to try to accomplish and what would be the law in specific situations. All right, everyone. Laila Tov.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome.
Shabbos.